News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
5:05 on this Friday afternoon. In for Bill Walter, I'm Will Feelike with your KVNU News Update brought to you by UNI Furniture in a tragic accident earlier today, taking the life of a woman in a vehicle pedestrian crash that occurred in downtown Logan. The accident occurred just before 10 a.m. at 200 North and Main Street. Logan City Police Assistant Chief Jeff Simmons said initial evidence suggests the victim was in a motorized wheelchair. As they were attempting to cross Main Street on the south side of the intersection, they were hit by a cement truck attempting a right-hand turn from 200 North onto Main Street. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene. Their identity has not been released pending notification of family. Simmons was able to confirm that the victim was an adult female. They also said that the male driver of the cement truck remained on the scene and was cooperating with law enforcement. They were emotionally distraught following the crash. Well, coming up, a former USU football player is suing the school for what he says was retaliation by the football team for meetings that he recorded on his cell phone. I'll get to that story in just a moment. First, that weather forecast is it's been a beautiful day today, and it looks like the weekend is going to serve up more of this sunny weather, as we'll have clear skies continuing into tonight as temperatures will drop into the low 30s. Tomorrow, mid-50s expected, with temperatures even warming up more for Monday, for Halloween, as we'll get to around 58. And then 60s for Tuesday before a chance of showers comes in for Wednesday and Thursday. Well, Patrick Maddox came to Utah State University in hopes of football glory, a scholarship, and even maybe a springboard to a coaching career in college or NFL. Now the senior is no longer on the football team and is instead suing USU and head football coach Blake Anderson, alleging retaliation for recording two team meetings in the summer of 2021, in which then USU Police Chief Earl Morris had said that they would work with players accused of sexual assault and wanted to ensure that they could play ball. Morris resigned 4 months later when the recordings became public. Coach Anderson also reportedly had said that it has never been more glamorized to be a victim and that the team was a target to some. Now, for Maddox, the meetings were a part of a culture to protect team members. Word spread that Maddox was the one who had recorded the team meetings on his cell phone. In a subsequent discussion, Maddox said that Anderson told him that he had directed angry players to handle Maddox however they saw fit, words that Maddox interpreted as sanctioning physical violence against him. And parents, administrators, and staff at Thomas Edison Charter School's South Campus are voicing their concerns over a proposed rezoning of the field behind the school for future housing development. The proposed project, which would be about 500 feet from the school, is requesting a design review permit for 232 multifamily dwelling units, including 4-story structures. In a letter addressed to the Planning Commission, Principal Melanie Kirk expressed multiple concerns, including traffic congestion, potential vandalism, and unwanted trash in the school's playground. Kirk explained that with an additional 259 residential units within 500 feet of their school, traffic congestion during drop-off and pickup times would be a burden and also cause frustration to parents and the new residents, but more importantly, be dangerous for students. And for Bill Walter, I'm Will Feelwright with your Friday News Update.
Recently, UNI Furniture took a call from Best Furniture, and they asked UNI to take all the display furniture from the Las Vegas Market Show. Because it's all display furniture, it's deeply discounted, and it's on sale now. Swivel, reclining, accented lift chairs, sofa loves, and sectionals. And also, UNI just got a big order they placed over a year ago from Southern Motion, all at pre-inflation prices. You could take advantage of these sale prices and lay it away at no extra charge until the holidays. Big selection, great prices. That's why there's always a better buy at UNI Furniture in downtown Logan.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Evan McMullin says he's independent. The Democrat Party knows he's not.
Cheers rang loud after Utah Democrats reached a decision
to join Evan McMullin.
Democrats chose to back him.
Why are Biden's allies pulling out all the stops to elect McMullin? Because he'd do their bidding in the Senate. Conservatives know he's a Democrat in disguise, but sometimes his mask slips. His positions on issues match the Democrat platform. He wants to weaken the filibuster, backed Biden's radical Supreme Court nominee, attacked police budgets, supported reckless spending, more debt. He's just another Biden liberal, even campaigned to make him president.
I plan to cast my vote for Joe. Imagine the America we can have.
Imagine the damage after 2 more years of a Democrat Senate giving Biden free reign. Utah can stop him if we stop McMullen first. Crypto Freedom PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising. Paid for by Crypto Freedom PAC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. 202-971-1316.
With the arrival of fall, potential heavy rainstorms, fallen leaves, and debris, the Cache Stormwater Coalition would like to remind you of a few things to be mindful of. Clean out all the leaves and debris from your rain gutters. Use a broom or rake to remove leaves and debris from the top of storm drains, as clogged storm drains can lead to flooding. Don't keep piles of yard waste in your yard on the sidewalk or street. Use a green waste recycle bin, and check with your local city office on where to place collected leaves for pickup. And when it snows, remember to keep the snow away from curb and gutter and storm drains. We can all make a difference if we do our part. Brought to you by the Cache Stormwater Coalition.
Hi, this is Bob Larson with LSS Insurance. TV ads tempting you with cash back on your Medicare? Come learn about Molina's Medicare Advantage plans for 2023. Call 752-9493 or go to our website lssins.com for seminar dates and times. Don't get hooked by calling a national line. Call LSS where you can work with a local agent. Having a real person you can sit down with makes all the difference. For accommodations of persons with special needs at meetings, call 752-9493.
This is Police Chief Gary Jensen from Logan City Police Department. A number of scams are occurring throughout our city and county. These scams are highly emotional and demand immediacy that you pay, and you pay now. They will say they are from the IRS, the Sheriff's Office, the Police Department, utility companies, medical facilities, or even romance scams. The scammers do their homework. They can do a simple check on the internet of your name and find out where you live, where you used to live, even people that are associated with your name. They are always highly emotional phone calls that demand immediate payment or something bad will happen. Slow down and diffuse by asking questions. If they want you to pay with Bitcoin or gift cards, this is a scam. Be careful. Hang up the phone call is the best thing that you can do. Again, slow down and think. React by hanging up and don't become a victim.
Welcome back to the For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan here in the studio.
Hey, can I tell you a secret?
Oh, yeah. Is it about a movie you want remade?
No.
As a super fan?
So we're entering this stage now, right, where we're...
Oh, wait, really quick before I forget, for listeners. A listener asked about this, and I promised we'd answer it when we came back. And yes, this is true. So, Better Off Dead with John Cusack.
Yes.
For some reason, it's gotten some attention. It's getting some TikTok play with the kids. It's impossible to find. The studio behind it has said they will rectify that. They're actually they're inviting.
It is hard.
Well, they're inviting.
You can't find the soundtrack either.
Yeah, they're actually inviting people to make a bid. The studio that owns the film said, make a bid. We'll put it on a streaming service. We'll re-release it. All this stuff. So yeah, that rumor is true. A listener asked about that. That rumor is true. Better Off Dead is finally getting not a reboot but a re-release of sorts after being strangely one of the hardest movies to find since the late 80s.
No, it is. And unless you have a
sorry
copy,
to interrupt you.
Yeah, like you said, it was on cable back in the day quite a bit.
Yeah.
But
and you could buy VHS copies at a time.
Unless you have a copy, or an old DVD, you just don't have it. Hey,
anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. What I wanted to say was a couple things. There are a couple new movies this week that I can give you just a little bit brief rundown on. But we're gonna starting next week. It's gonna be a kind of a speed drain between now and the end of the year in terms of releases. There's a lot coming out.
I noticed that
this week,
and re-releases.
Yeah,
or classics.
Well, this week there's 2 movies. So if you're looking for something like a family style movie that you want to take all your kids to, there's Lyle Crocodile. I believe that's based on a children's book.
Yeah,
this is like the American, the Brits are like, well, we have Paddington. which, by the way, if you've never seen Paddington or Paddington 2, and you don't have to see Paddington 1 to see Paddington 2.
No.
You really need to.
In fact, some would argue you shouldn't.
Yeah, you don't even have to. I'd just say go straight to Paddington 2.
Yeah.
It
is actually really
top
good.
3 movie of all time.
It's
no,
a
just
good,
kidding.
good movie.
It is a great movie. It's a great...
And I'm not a Paddington fan.
It's a great, great show about a bear.
Paddington was always too British
Just
for
a
me.
great, great bear. Anyway... So, yeah, you can check out Loud Crocodile.
Definitely Friday.
There's also another movie that's opening that you would think by the cast that you'd say, wow, this is going to be tremendous. And then it ends up not being tremendous. And this is a movie called Amsterdam.
Yeah.
It's got, the 3 leads.
I'm disappointed. I was very excited for this
John
one.
David Washington. It's not bad. It's just kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like it's trying really, really hard. You got Christian Bale, who I feel like, honestly, is kind of heading into that Bruce Willis stage of his career, where people are like, "Hey, I know that guy," but they're like, "When's the last time he's been in something good?"
Do you say no to anything?
Yeah, and there'll be a couple things later down the road where they'll be like, "Oh, wow, Christian Bale resurgence," right?
I'm still impressed by his unrecognizable villain in Thor.
Thor, yeah.
I thought that was
well. And then
I'm pausing my judgment.
It's you
because
can.
of that role alone.
And then Margot Robbie, who I think at some point here pretty soon everyone's gonna go, wow, has everyone had enough of Margot Robbie? Right?
Yeah.
She's in everything. She's great. She really is great. I love her. But and then this is a David O. Russell movie.
Remember when they did that to Diane Keaton in the 90s?
Hey, baby boom.
She was in everything. Every comedy.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts too for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. But this movie's called Amsterdam. It's written and directed by David O. Russell, who is a name that you would probably recognize from like Silver Linings Playbook, American Hustle. And every once in a while he pops a movie out where it's
you're really setting up what should be a good movie.
You think, right? It's not terrible. It's just kind of like, I don't know. You know what I honestly think, Jason? I think in a couple of years, we're gonna look back and go, oh yeah, that made sense. I really, truly feel like that during the COVID era, I'm gonna say 2020 and 2021, when people had to shoot around COVID and COVID was, that I really think there's something lost there. That I just think it's not that the entertainment's bad. I just think, I don't know. Think about this. Let me ask you this question. In 2020 and 2021, tell me that you didn't feel drained, right? Yeah. And I wonder if that is part of something. Again, I'm not saying this on every movie, but I'm just wondering if there was some collective group emotional fatigue that, just coming out of some really, what I would say, hard times.
I think you see that a little bit at the box office. Like the crowd reaction and box office haul so far of Bros. This is like a throwaway comedy. That sounds too dismissive, but I mean, this is the same people who brought us Neighbors with Zac Efron and
this is
Seth.
Which was hilarious. It's a Judd Apatow movie.
Yeah, and they're funny, and you know exactly what you're getting, and the best movie he's ever been affiliated with still is The Good Boys. Honestly, and I think he was just like executive producer or something. But
I think Billy Eichner is right about this.
But I think these movies, people like them right now because they are throwaway. Does that make sense?
You know what my issue with this, with the Bros, though, is? Here's my issue.
Like, they make you laugh, and then you forget about them and go on with your life.
Well, and go back 19 years to Brokeback Mountain, right? Where you have a movie about two gay cowboys, right, and their sort of secret relationship.
Yeah,
and I feel like
it's really dark and
I feel like that movie. There was a lot of controversy, especially in Utah, right? Remember at the time where Larry H. Miller was like, "Hey, we're cool with Hostel, right? We're going to mutilate and murder people, and there's female nudity.
Actually, it was worse than that, wasn't it? Hostel too.
Sexual situations, like everything terrible. Every sin you want to see is over in this theater, but we are not playing
the
gay cowboy movie. No. And I think, honestly, I really do believe that Billy Eichner has a point, that I do think that there is still this. I still think there's people that are like, what? This is a gay romance? You know what I mean? Like, and it's.
But I think it's making. I mean, it's making a lot of money, and people are loving it
in places where I feel like people are a little bit more
ready for it.
Yeah,
because,
I don't.
So
but
my
what's to
understanding
be
is
ready for what? I don't
a,
understand that. That just
I get what's unique about this is a typical Judd Apatow vehicle. It's like Neighbors. It's like
raunchy.
It's comedy.
R-rated,
it's R-rated.
It's got heart,
and it's incidental that the two romantic leads are both dudes,
right?
And that's why Judd Apatow wanted to make the movie.
Yeah.
But my point is, I think people are responding to movies like that more, even if it has.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, they're like they don't want to walk
lighthearted.
Away. I think if you
they don't want heavy movies.
Yeah,
because we're all emotionally drained
a little
anyway.
Stressed, a little anxious.
That's why I think Top Gun did so well, right?
And again, I hate to use the word throwaway, but I can't think of a better one right now. But these are movies you go see. Yeah. You're entertained for 2 hours, either by laughing or an action movie or scary movie or whatever it is. And then you go on.
You know what you and I need to do? We've talked about this for a lot of years, and I think you and I just need to put the effort in and write a joint paper.
I would do it
for the Nobel Peace Prize. I think you and I need to go through, and we need to catalog. We need to go through, make a timeline of like awful events, right?
Yeah,
like things that just drain, or controversies, whatever you want to call it, right? Put that on a timeline, and then we need to throw down what movies came out at the during those, because I know there's a pattern.
Oh,
right?
I guarantee. We were talking about music earlier, and I was talking about how bad the music in the late 80s was as far as content. And how that resulted in grunge seeming like a new thing when it wasn't, nor was it that good. I think we're headed into that same thing. I think we're in the 85 to 90 music time frame
right
now.
Like 1996.
What's popular right now is I wouldn't call it garbage. Some of it's very good, but it is so superficial.
You're right. And I would say the same thing with movies. You have this window of time, I'm going to say from 1977 through 1983, where you've just got this 6-year period of just this glut of films from George Lucas, and you've got these films from Steven Spielberg, and you've got a lot of people trying to copy those things that end up being good movies, like The Last Starfighter or Crow. They're kind of corny now, but like they still fed our appetite at the time.
Oh, I loved Crow
and then
when I was a kid.
You get to
Beastmaster.
Yeah, and then you get past 1983, and yes, there's some things in 84 and stuff, but after that period, right, you kind of go through this drought a little bit. You get a few one-offs like Batman and a few other things, but for the most part, you have this now, what my belief truly, and I have nothing to back this up, this is just Andy's compass, Andy's barometer, is you go through this dry spell and you've got people like Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin and all these people that are setting up that they get to a later point, right, to 1996, and
everybody's like, nah.
And then they're bringing stuff back. Because they're like, look, this has been too long, and these filmmakers were our inspiration, right? And so they're trying to kind of recreate that magic that they had when they were kids, right?
I get it,
and so I think there's cycles.
I
think there's cycles.
But
I know I can't bring up Independence Day.
But doesn't that mean that there's obviously still space for a movie like Amsterdam?
Sure,
it's going to make its money back. It's going to but where.
Why does
let me ask it this way: when would this movie be a hit? This movie should be a huge hit.
Well, but
with
see,
the cast.
Here's the problem:
Taylor Swift and Robert De Niro in the same movie.
But here's the problem: is I think we look at box office, we don't look at it right. And looking at the international box office last week taught me this. And I'm not talking about just that being international box office.
That's a good point.
But it costs. I'm going to say it costs probably $40 million to make Amsterdam. It costs $400 million to make Top Gun, right?
Yeah.
So the expectations are different.
Sure.
So for a movie like Amsterdam, it's going to make its money. That's why people go, why do they keep making movies like that when, like, let's say the general populace doesn't go to see it?
Well, because they're cashing in $10 million for each one.
Because there's a
profit.
There's a group of people that make that,
Fair enough. It makes sense. And I forget myself that there's an international box office. But still, it seems like a movie like this should have been a huge hit, and it just wasn't this summer. But, all right. Taking a look back at the summer, a look ahead at the fall movie season, mixing in some Halloween stuff here. A special extended For the People movie show continues with Andy Morgan here in the studio right after this.
When Evan McMullin backed Joe Biden for president, He voted for every single catastrophic policy Biden's gang of socialists and tyrants inflicted on struggling Utah families. 40-year high inflation, crushing taxes, open borders, and lost freedoms. It was a bad call, but McMullen's got no regrets. We can't give Evan McMullen a second chance. We need Mike Lee now more than ever, our constant constitutional defender who never gives an inch to the forces who would destroy American freedom. The Biden-McMullen agenda drove Utahns' cost of living sky high. But Mike Lee has been a bulwark, shielding us from Joe Biden's thoughtless leadership, standing strong against rampant spending, lawless borders, and creeping socialism, even when he's had to stand alone.
I'm Mike Lee, and I approve this message because I love Utah. I love our country, and it's been my honor to serve as your senator.
Mike Lee for Senate. Paid for by Friends of Mike Lee, Incorporated.
Happy holidays from Birch Creek Golf Course and Off-Premise Catering. For your company or business Christmas party, I invite you to choose Birch Creek's beautiful banquet room to host your Christmas party. Our banquet room can hold 150 guests with great parking and a beautiful view of Cache Valley. So when thinking company or business Christmas party, I invite you to choose Birch Creek and Off-Premise Catering. Call Birch Creek today at 563-6825 for information. And happy holidays from your friends at Birch Creek and Off-Premise Catering.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
We won. All right, hey. All right, good job, guys. Let's just not come in tomorrow. Let's just take a day.
Welcome back to the For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan joining us for hour 2 of the movie show, actually, if you're just tuning in.
This can't be John Williams.
It is.
This sounds like Jaws, the jazz theme.
It's the part of the Jaws theme no one knows because it runs really quiet under the opening credits. But, yeah, it's... You're
going to need a bigger boat.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Let's actually talk about that. Scary movie
that's
moments.
That's why I played it,
Jaws.
because that's there's still one of the scariest scenes in a movie, not a horror movie, in Jaws.
You know how many things that Jaws spawned in terms of like how to do a movie going forward? Two of my what I feel like are 2 of the scariest movies still. And people laugh when I always say Jaws. They're like, "You think Jaws is scary, you moron? The shark looks so dumb."
We should define scary, because I and I've thought about this a lot over my life because I'm a horror movie fan.
Makes you make diamonds.
There's 3 kinds of scary. There's yeah, it makes you make diamonds. There's jump scary, which is usually the slasher flicks, and that could also be combined with like gross scary. I think jumping gross, because a lot of times that's what
you can have jump scares in non-horror movies. Like,
yeah,
like thinking about some things in like Raiders of the Lost Ark where like some skeletons fall out of the wall or something, and you're like, because just stuff you're not expecting. That's jump scares to me.
So there's jump scary. There's overall tension scary.
Yeah,
which
somebody's walking down a dark hallway and you know that maybe somebody's lurking there and you're just waiting for somebody to pop out.
Like I classify 7 as a horror movie. It's a thriller, but I classify it as a horror movie because the overall the atmosphere and tension of that movie is a horror movie.
Atmospheres, that's a great it's almost like the atmosphere and tension.
Yeah. So I think there's jump scary, tension scary, and then there's just uncomfortable.
That's like Midsummer.
Yeah, which is really Midsummer's not a very scary movie.
No, you're never like booga booga booga, right?
But you don't breathe.
Yeah, you don't.
The movie
you're
opens,
white knuckling it through, and you're like, it's like
I was pretty calm when they're in the apartment in the first 3 minutes of the film talking about their trip to Sweden.
But even that,
you're kind of like, ooh, this ain't going well, is it?
Yeah, because but
they're in an apartment in the daytime. So
you know what it is? It's almost voyeuristic because you're privy to conversations that other people aren't privy to, and then it makes you uncomfortable because you know everyone's like you're kind of like it's like you know the secrets.
Yeah,
and so you're just sitting there like cringy, like this is uncomfortable.
And I would classify that kind of uncomfortable as it's ironic too. I mentioned this. Maybe we'll talk more about it. But there's a series on Netflix that I finally watched. It's old, and I watched it because I heard that kind of a spin-off came out this week called with similar title. So I went back and watched the original. I kind of mad it before. I wasn't that excited about it. It's really good. Talk about it in sometime else during the hour. But I point that out to say in that series, it's classified as horror, because it's a vampire show. Well, I'll just say it. It's called Midnight Mass. Maybe you've watched it already.
I
told him. I was going to wait because I didn't want to dominate the first few minutes. But I'll just quickly say it. It's excellent. I'm sorry I didn't watch it before. It's really good.
You should write an apology to Mike Flanagan.
Well, and Mike Flanagan did some of my favorite horror series so far, like the Haunting of Hill House and the
Bly Manor.
Bly Manor. These are just really, really fresh.
Did you know that
he
also directed Hush?
Yeah, which was creepy.
Did you also know, Did you also know that he directed Gerald's Game?
I didn't know that.
Did you also know?
That's actually, Gerald's Game, the movie, was better than the book.
I'm going to do this 2 more times.
One of the few times I've said that about Stephen King.
Did you also know that he directed Dr. Sleep?
I didn't know that.
Did you also know?
Wow.
Hang on.
I'm noticing a pattern.
Let me back up. He also directed Ouija. Is that how you say it?
I did know that.
Ouija or Ouija?
Ouija.
We were debating this the other day. Ouija. Yeah, somebody said it's a Ouija board. I think
it's actually pronounced Ouija.
It's Ouija
but
board.
we say it Ouija for some reason.
Not me. Only morons, dude. Just kidding.
He's
no,
just he's good.
Ouija Origins of Evil. I need to clarify that.
Oh, the sequel.
That was good.
Yeah, that was better than
Yes.
That doesn't happen often, but he's just good. And this Midnight Mass is good, but the reason I bring it up now is it's classified as a horror series, and I wouldn't. It's not. There's a vampire, and the vampire does vampire things, but it's never scary, really. I mean, there's some scenes that are a little tense. No, but his eyes glow. There are some scenes that are tense where they kind of make you feel a little tense for a second, but it's quickly resolved. It's not a horror movie. It's not a series. It's not a horror series. Just it has a vampire in it, so that's where it falls. It's kind of like Sopranos. The Sopranos was actually a family drama, and that's what this is like. But it's a small town drama.
So
all the relationships between these 170
question.
people that live on an island off of Maine, and that. So is that? But it's horror because it has a vampire.
No, this is great. But
it's not scary.
No, this is great. This begs a question that we should consider throughout the hour.
What is scary?
So does an excellent horror movie have all elements? Here's what I talk about. I made a list, and I'm just going to read through a couple of these really quick. But I made a list of what I would consider my Andes. That's me, in case anyone needed to know. My scary, like top 25. Okay,
movies or scenes?
These are just some scary movies.
Scary movies, okay.
And I want to see if you tell me if you agree with some of these. I'm going to read it through them really quick. I'm not going to sit and talk about all of them. So I'm just going to read down the list. And these are not in any particular order. This is just 25 of the movies that I find are super scary.
Okay.
Ready? The Witch.
Oh, yeah.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
Insidious.
Yeah.
Insidious 2.
Yeah.
The Conjuring.
Very much.
The Conjuring 2.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to like this. Paranormal Activity 3.
Yeah.
1 and 2 are fine, and I could group those all together. But Paranormal Activity 3 is particularly unsettling.
The only thing I'd change about that is any of the first 3. But yeah, the third one is probably the most uncomfortable.
The Descent. Veronica. Remember the cave movie?
It's been a long time since I saw that.
Veronica.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Spanish horror movie on Netflix right now. If you can get through that, I will pay you $5.
That is.
I will Venmo you $5.
That one's on my list.
I did watch it multiple times.
I squinted my eyes.
Veronica is very.
I really did.
So this is kind of what, going back to your original question, right? Veronica has jump scares.
Yeah.
It's got tension. It's got so many things that I like. I felt physically uncomfortable, not because it was gory, not because there was such an overwhelming sense of dread.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Midsommar.
It Follows, The Strangers,
top of my list.
The Babadook.
Yeah.
It, the first It movie, not the one with
Chapter 1.
Yeah, It Chapter 1. Signs.
Okay.
Alien.
Signs the first time. Not on repeated viewings.
It's still,
but the first time, Signs was a horror movie.
Yeah. Alien, Poltergeist, The Changeling, Sinister, Mama, Ouija, Ouija, Origin of Evil, The Others, We Are Still Here, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, The Mothman Prophecies. That's one I never thought I would put on there, but it's
Richard Gere.
Well, it's Richard Gere, Will Patton, and Laura Linney. It's a fantastic cast.
It is a good movie.
And it is so hard to watch that. Here's another one that one of my critic brethren and I, Brooks Bird, we were arguing about this the other day. He was telling me it was so dumb. Is The Fourth Kind with... do you know what, though? That movie is uncomfortable.
That one's a hard one for me because if you're looking for something that will freak you out a little bit and make you uncomfortable, it's excellent for that. But it's actually a really bad movie too.
Well, the problem is
the acting isn't.
I must be dumb,
but it's good. It's scary.
I'm so gullible. When I watched the Blair Witch, after I went onto the internet, I went to Alta Vista, and I wrote, "Dear Alta Vista, what's this Blair Witch thing? Is this real? What happened to these people?" And everyone's like, "You dummy, it's a movie." I did the same thing with Paranormal Activity. I was like, "Wait, is this real? I gotta."
Whose footage was this?
Yeah, and then I did the same thing with The Fourth Kind. I was like, "Wow, you got me." And then I went and it was like, "No, this is not real." The Orphanage is another one.
Guillermo del Toro.
As movies. Yeah, no. No, that's actually not Guillermo del Toro. That's I can't think of
do one called, or is his The Orphan?
His is The Devil's Backbone.
Oh, that's right. It's just in an orphanage.
It is.
That one is on my list of scariest movies.
But they come from the same.
Yeah.
They're both Spanish directors. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The Ring. I know it's corny, but that movie is really unsettling.
That's another one that I put in my. So I had to classify first viewings, and The Ring was another one that.
The Grudge, I think, fits into that.
But
I could debate those.
See, none of those hold up. None of those hold up on repeated viewings for me. I don't know. You're listening to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan here in the studio, going through top horror movies that you, if you haven't seen, should definitely add to your watch list. Stay tuned. More to come on the For the People movie show right after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Thank you, Jason. The news this hour is brought to you by Logan Extermination. Halloween, a scary time of year, and the Logan Downtown Alliance is doing their best to bring spooky into local buildings. Ted Erickson, a member of the Bridgeland chapter of the Storytelling Guild, will once again be telling stories of ghosts, poltergeists, and spirits doomed in the haunts of downtown Logan for the Ghost Tour's final night tonight, finishing off the 12th spooky season. They'll be doing the Downtown Alliance Ghost Tours tonight at 7, 8, and 9 o'clock. The tours have been attracting around 60 people every night. The tours take participants into the heart of historic downtown Logan with some of the most infamous, scariest places. And there is plenty of walking to do, so those wanting to participate in the tours are advised to wear good walking shoes and dress for the elements. The Storytelling Guild has been doing this for 12 seasons now, and it's become a tradition for many people. Well, the Salt Lake Police Chief has issued a statement to his staff after charges of sexual battery against a police officer. The alleged victim is a female employee of the force. Charging documents from the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office outlines 2 counts of sexual battery, a misdemeanor against Jeffrey Loosely. Now, according to a probable cause statement, a female victim contacted law enforcement in May of 2022 that she had been at a work training when Loosely had smacked her on the backside with an unknown object. When she confronted him about it, it happened again. The same document states that Loosely later reached out to the victim's husband and apologized. This isn't the first time the Salt Lake Police Department had to address claims like this. Back in 2015, 3 female officers filed a lawsuit against the department over sexual harassment. And approximately 25,000 more men than women in Utah, ages 18 and older, have earned a bachelor's degree or higher. Recent data shows that female secondary students actually plan on attending college at higher rates than male students, but for varying reasons, they are less likely to graduate from college. Utah State University's Women and Leadership Project recently analyzed a report from Envision Utah. It's a nonprofit organization focused on topics relating to quality of life. From October 2020 through February 2021, Envision Utah had surveyed secondary students over the age of 13. Now, the Utah Women Leadership Project specifically focused on survey questions about students' plans after high school and factors that affect educational decisions. Susan Madsen, the Utah Women Leadership Project funding director and report author, said that Utah females can be financially disadvantaged by not completing a degree or by not pursuing an advanced education. Well, clear skies continuing as we're going to be into the low 30s tonight, with sunny skies continuing into tomorrow as temperatures Saturday and Sunday expected to be around the mid-50s. Monday will be into the high 50s with sunny skies continuing into Tuesday when we could hit the low 60s before another cold front comes in, bringing a chance of some showers for Wednesday and Thursday. I'm Will Feelwright for KVNU News.
Men Fall Cleanup is here, and it means one thing.
Football!
Okay, it means 2 things.
Hunting!
No.
Yeah, I don't hunt. Hang Christmas lights?
Nope.
Rake the leaves?
No. Call Hall Tree Care.
Yeah, but why?
Fall is the best time to have your trees and shrubs trimmed and hazards removed. Every winter, homes and vehicles are damaged by heavy snow and overgrown trees. Call 760-6587 and ask about their radio discount. Hall Tree Care, that's Hull Tree Care, 760-6587.
This is Jace Allen with Allen Mortuaries. From our family to yours, thank you for voting Allen Mortuaries Best Funeral Home of Northern Utah and Best Funeral Home of Cache Valley. We sincerely appreciate the confidence and trust your family has given us over the past 83 years. When you trust us with the final preparations of your loved one, you get the kind of caring, personalized service you can only expect from a family-owned funeral home. It's our family serving yours. Voted Best Funeral Home of Cache Valley in Northern Utah, Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
Welcome to Everyone's Metal Store, home to tons of metal products for the DIYer or experienced pros. With a sales staff ready to assist with any type of metal question, Palmer's Metal Mart in Logan is your metal store, no matter the size of your project. With one of the state's best selections of metal products under one roof, you will love the price and selection at Metal Mart. For almost 30 years, for projects big or small, customers have found their home for metal products and extraordinary service to be at Metal Mart. No matter your knowledge of metal products, Metal Mart is here to serve. Give us a call or come into our store in Logan and see why we're everyone's metal store. If you need metal roofing, tubing or pipe, sheet metal, angle iron, purlins or rebar, call Palmer's Metal Mart today. When it comes to metal, just remember Palmer's Metal Mart, everyone's metal store. It's that simple. Visit us online at palmersmetalmart.com or in Logan, just east of the airport. Steel, service, and savings. See you soon.
Over 50? You can still register as an organ and tissue donor.
Call 1-866-99-DONATE. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Join me on The Travel Show every Saturday at 11 a.m., and I'll tell you where to go and how to get there with the best travel deals on the planet, including how to travel more and pay less, free this and free that promotions, and insider secrets on what the airlines, cruise lines, and hotels don't want you to know, along with your call-in travel questions. Every Saturday, 11 a.m., right here on News Talk 610 KVNU.
A very Tim Burton feel to it. Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan here in the studio. talking Halloween movies, the latest box office news coming up, more announcements from Hollywood on the fall movie season, which is, as Andy mentioned, and as I've mentioned a few times, it seems to be almost more like a summer movie season ahead of us before the holiday movies really hit. Some blockbuster-ish type movies on the docket, so we'll look ahead into the fall as well. But we'll recap scariest movie scenes as well here on the show. We hit on a few in hour one. We'll get to more here in hour two. Not scary movies. Sometimes these scenes come from non-scary movies, but they have that one scene that just sticks out. Anyway, Andy, we were going through your list. We got to The Ring and The Grudge. I agree they should be on the list, although I still say The Ring doesn't hold up on repeated viewings. It's still one of the creepier movies out there. What's next?
That I think people have forgot about is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This is by the same director that did Sinister, who also did Doctor Strange and recently The Black Phone.
And it's another one that's uncomfortable.
Well, and it's not just an exorcism movie. It's a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
And you've got great actors in it. Again, Laura Linney's in that one. And you also have...
there's a trial.
Can't think of his name. Of a priest who does an exorcism of a girl that dies, and he's on trial for her murder, her death. It's anyway.
That would be on my list. The only one I would add that I feel like you left off, but I'm also
we could have done 50.
I'm torn on this because I just did a top 25 kind of thing. You got all of my top. I only did top 15, and all of my 15 were in your 25 except for one. And I'm torn on this because it's
just Midsommar.
It's really only the first half of the movie. Oh, two, because Midsommar was on my list.
Yeah, I debated.
It's only number one for me though was It Follows. I'll talk about that in a second. But and it's another reason the Paranormal Activity movies are top of my list. But the one I would add, and it's only really the first half because it gets kind of schlocky towards the end. And don't see the sequels, and don't read about the director because you'll be disappointed you supported the movie in any way because it appears the guy was a pedophile, which is yeah. I'm serious. Like it came out after the third Jeepers Creepers.
That
he was
You're talking about the first Jeepers Creepers.
I'm talking about the first one and really only the first half.
Is this with the one that has the kid that's
he was in school?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
What is his name? Anyway,
this is our COVID fog.
He was kind of famous for a while and then disappeared. And
Justin Long.
That's who
we're thinking of.
But that movie, the first, you don't see a monster. I'm getting to a theme here on the movies I like best. But you don't really see a monster. You do see the monster at a certain point. But there are some scenes in that movie. The truck running up behind him in the rear view. You can see it. They're just driving along facing the camera. But you see this thing coming at them for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it's coming fast, but it's a long ways away on a straight highway. And you see it. And at first it's just a car behind him. And then pretty soon you realize this car's coming up pretty fast. And you remember, I'm watching a horror movie too. So, and then you see it coming up even faster. And then you see it, and then you start to see what it is coming behind him. And that is one of the most tense scenes. No music. The dialogue's just banter. It's just him and his sister, and talk about why they're driving cross country together, headed home from college. And that scene, and all the car does is come up on him, honk really loud, and pass them. One of the scariest scenes in a movie. And then the second one in that movie, they go to the old lady's house.
Yeah.
Looking for shelter to hide from the monster because now it's been revealed.
Yeah.
And they know the monster's chasing them, and it has wings. And they go to the old lady's house, and she comes out to the porch. She has 100 cats. And she comes out to the porch, and they ask if she can use a phone. They can use her phone, and she says, "I don't have a phone," because it's like poor rural Midwest. You know? And she says, "I don't have a phone." They're in the middle of nowhere. She says, "I don't have a phone." And they said she stands there for a second, and then she turns her head and looks out in the cornfield, and she stares at the scarecrow for a second in her cornfield, and she turns back to the kids, and she said, "What did you kids bring into my yard?" And Justin Long says, "What?" And she says, "That's not my scarecrow."
Oh, it's horrible.
And slams and locks the door with them outside. So, and that is one of the most tense scenes. And it's so... Anyway.
No, I agree.
Quickly on your list, the ones that made the top of my list, I realized there was a theme. And it's Paranormal Activity, the first three. And it follows Midsommar. All of these. There's no monster. You never see a monster in It Follows. In fact, the only part of It Follows I don't like is the swimming pool scene at the end when you see it hit the water and you get the impression it's huge. I was actually kind of disappointed that they didn't leave it entirely to your imagination.
Nope.
I think that is so cool in a horror movie to scare you and make you uncomfortable without. Does It Follows even have special effects?
Not really.
Oh,
No.
there's the one at the first, the gross scene at the first.
Well, and here's something I want to throw out along with what you're saying is when we talk about movies like in the 80s and stuff, horror movies back then, it almost felt like they were its own genre and they were kind of given like the thumb. It was kind of like rap in the Grammys in the 80s. Like it was like, well, we realize this is
popular with the kids.
Yeah, but we don't take it seriously.
Not recognizing it. Yeah.
But today, this is serious stuff. Like people, movies, horror movies are actually, they're not just horror movies anymore. They're good movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're really good movies.
It's sort of like what's happened in book publishing, where there have been more and more crossovers of what is known as literary horror. Stephen King's written some literary horror.
Yeah,
actually, the original book "It" is considered literary horror.
I just turned on a scary movie moment. You're right.
It's literature, but vampires and stuff like that.
and that's I pose this question to people on social media. I don't know, the one question I got a lot of, or the one answer I got, and I'm sorry, I promised myself I wasn't going to criticize people's selections, but
here's a criticism.
The one I got was I got over and over again The Shining, and I got you and I are in the same boat. I think The Shining is one of the most overrated.
Read the book.
Overrated movies, just in general.
Yeah,
and I don't find it scary at all.
The book is far scarier because it's atmospheric.
I offended somebody yesterday because I said the original Halloween from the 70s was more of a comedy. Now when you watch it.
Yeah, if you watch it. But that actually holds up with, I remember as a kid, Nightmare on Elm Street horrified me.
And now it's a comedy.
And I watched it again recently because they put it on Netflix. I watched it again recently and I'm like, there is nothing scary in this.
I know. You have to take
along the lines of things being serious, did you know this? Nightmare on Elm Street 2? I won't get into why because we'd get down a whole rabbit hole, but did you know it's taught in college classes?
I did not know that.
Gender roles, norms, and mores.
That is interesting.
Is a college class that's taught at Purdue University, and one of the movies they explore is Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge.
Huh.
And that intrigues me. If you want to Google it, you can. I won't bring it up on the show because we'll get down a hole. But we got to go to a quick break, and then I should throw out the numbers again.
Yeah, we should talk again. We want to know your scariest movie moments. I promise I won't laugh at you. And then also, the Halloween franchise wraps up this weekend. Yeah, and I got a little review for you on that.
Halloween ends, which I mean, this time they really mean it, right? We've had Halloween movies. The numbers that I said I would throw out. We talked about this a little bit on yesterday's show. And I've linked to it on our Facebook page. And I know it's a movie show. This is an economics post. It's a blog called Calculated Risk, written by a couple of economics professors at Harvard, Yale, and some other university in UK, I think. Anyway, it shows that they're looking at signs that consumers are confident that they're willing to spend money. And they look at three things they call now I've forgotten the phrase they use, Andy. They call them frequency indicators. And that means it's something that people do a lot of unless money gets tight, and then it's the first thing to go. And the three that they look at, these high-frequency indicators, they call them, are flight travel data from TSA, how many people go through TSA checkpoints every day for a year, hotel occupancy data, which is collected by the hotel industry itself and reported, and then box office at the movies. And what they found is that the comparing 2022's numbers so far up until October 15th to 2019 numbers, flight data is back up. People are traveling again. Actually, almost 3% more than in 2019 before anybody had even heard of COVID-19 and the pandemic. Hotel occupancy up 4% compared to 2019, before anyone had heard of COVID-19. Box office take down 42% this fall compared to the numbers last fall. And Andy, as you and I have discussed, a lot of that has to do with movies that are in theaters versus good movies in theaters versus meh movies in theaters, and that might be a part of it this year specifically. But the trend holds up through the year, which suggests people after the pandemic aren't going back in the numbers they were before the pandemic. Whether the pandemic is the cause of that, I don't know. My theory is that people got away from this for a little while and they realized we've been putting up with some pretty mediocre movie-going experiences, courtesy of these large movie chains. And my theory, people now expect more. It's going to take a little more to get their butts back in the seats. We'll talk about it on the other side of this quick break here on the For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan in the studio right after this.
Ready to experience a new level of local transit? Well, with the new CDTD app, it's super simple for you to plan your trip to a T. With our interactive map, you can view bus stops closest to your location with real-time arrival information. You can mark your favorite stops, get alerts, set reminders, and much more. So, whether you're a seasoned pro or it's your first ride, get moving today with the new CDTD app.
Has inflation got you down? This is Zach with HSA Depot. Did you know you can save money by using your pre-tax income to buy qualifying medical supplies? Health savings and flex spending accounts can be used for more than just doctor visits and prescriptions. HSA Depot helps you conquer your health care by providing HSA and FSA eligible products, taking the guesswork out of the process. Come to HSA Depot next to Sally Beauty and see how much you can save. HSA Depot, 5-star review.
Hi, Cache County. It's Mark Ensign. As the election for a new county executive winds down, ask yourself this question. Do you want more of the conflict and dysfunction that's been going on all year? Or do you want to get back to the business of serving Cache County and our residents? To restore trust, transparency, and cooperation, write in Mark Ensign for Cache County Executive.
To learn more, visit ensignforcachecounty.com. Paid for by Mark Ensign.
This is former Cache County Executive Lynn Lemon. I wholeheartedly support Mark Ensign. I hope you will make the extra effort to write him in for County Executive.
Which is better, a hammer or a screwdriver? It depends if you have a nail or a screw. At Top Job Asphalt, they know that, and it's not one size fits all. With a variety of services and products, they can meet any pavement need and budget. Call 764-0451 and let their pavement experts give you a free estimate on any asphalt job. Best products, best services, guaranteed. 764-0451 or topjobasphalt.com. Choose the best. Choose Top Job Asphalt.
I am one of over 40 million Americans with migraine. A migraine is not just a headache. A migraine attack can last for hours or even days, often with sensitivity to lights and sounds or nausea and vomiting. Thankfully, there is help for migraine. Learn more at headachemigraine.org. Now is the perfect time to find out if what you have may be migraine. Visit headachemigraine.org, sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, and thank you for tuning in to the show today. That is our time. Coming up next week, we have holiday movie season upon us. It's official. We'll talk a little bit more about the movie box office and what reasons for this data showing that while travel has gone back to pre-pandemic levels of frequency, hotel occupancy up to pre-pandemic levels of frequency, and yet movie box office here in the United States still 42% lower than it was this time in 2019. We'll speculate more about the reasons, but also spend some time speculating aggressively about what this might be saying to big theater chain owners and what it might mean for the future of the movie-going experience. If it is the case that it's harder to get butts in seats, or that the status quo is just not going to cut it when it comes to the movie-going experience. What are the big theater chains going to do? This is, as Andy and I have argued, a lesson they had a chance to learn when MoviePass came along. Then MoviePass, well, bellied up, and theater chains thought, we're safe. But they're not, and they should have seen it coming. And these numbers imply it really is time for them to step up their game. We'll talk about what that might look like on next week's For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan. Be sure to tune in next Friday at 5. That's our time for this week. Thank you for tuning in, and please stay tuned. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.
Stimulating talk you want. Information and news you need. News Talk KVNU Logan, 610 AM and